Hello, everyone. This is Travis J. Vernon, and welcome to today's podcast. So Nancy and I just got back from a trip down to Florida. We like going down to fish, and on this particular excursion, we decided that we wanted to stay somewhere close to the Peace River so that we could go out with paleo discoveries to look for fossilized shark teeth, and we were hoping to find a megalodon tooth. Now, there's lots of different companies that you can go with. We did our research, picked this guy because it looked like it was a really fun time. And we actually were able to book it on the day after we arrived in Florida. So we flew into Tampa Bay, rented a vehicle, and then we found an Airbnb on the water in Bradenton, Florida. So we ended up staying in Bradenton because it was kind of centrally located to the other stuff we wanted to do. We wanted to go fish in the ocean, so we have a guide hired to do that. And we had paleo discoveries set up to go look for megalodon teeth, shark teeth, and other fossils in the Peace River. Outside of that, all we really wanted to do was hang out on the beach, get out of the cold from Wyoming, do some fishing, some shelling. We were planning on going to the Moat Marine Aquarium and Laboratory. And really outside of that, we didn't plan anything. One of the things that I really like to do is I like to try and eat at places. If I'm not going to cook in the Airbnb, I like to eat out at places that we can't eat out at when we're home. That's just always kind of been a goal of mine. You know, you can eat out at the restaurants around your house all the time, so it's not fun and exciting. Now, maybe that's not for everybody, because there are people that need that commonality, need to be able to go into a McDonald's regardless of where you are in the world and have it be the same food. I'm not that person. I like to enjoy local places. So now, when I was growing up, we traveled a lot. My father was a naval aviator, and we traveled the world. And one of the memories that really sticks out in my head was when we first arrived in Japan. We were looking for a restaurant that people had recommended to us, and we got totally lost. Now, it's kind of funny because I remember my mom and dad arguing, and my mom kept saying, "Are you sure we know where we are? Are you sure we know where we are?" And finally, my dad, in a moment of frustration, said, "I know exactly where we are. We are lost." So that's always been kind of a family joke. But as we were lost, we found a little restaurant in the middle of nowhere that became probably our favorite restaurant in Japan. We would go out of our way to go to that place after we had found it. Now, looking up reviews and things like that, while it's important, you need to be able to read between the lines. I always get nervous about a place that has no bad reviews because you expect something. You know, if it's just 5 stars straight across the board, that seems a little sketch to me. But one of the keys is looking at the bad reviews and how that place responded. And sometimes people are just jerks, so you just never really know. But if you do a little bit of research and don't just focus on one thing, don't look at just Yelp, don't look at just TripAdvisor, but those are really good places to start. I think using a combination of Reddit, TripAdvisor, and just Google have probably been the best for me. I'm not a real big fan of Yelp. There's a lot of people on Yelp that are on there just to post bad reviews, and that's all they try and do, and they try and get free stuff, and they're just a squeaky wheel, and that's never fun. But by going through and kind of deciding what type of food we were looking for, Nancy and I were able to narrow it down to a couple different restaurants that we really wanted to try. Now, there was one that was in Bradenton called the Lucky Frog, which, imagine what you will, it's a German restaurant, and they are known for their sausages and schnitzels and things like that. This is where it becomes very important to actually go to the place's website, because we just assumed that a restaurant would be open every day. We were a little bit tired on Saturday, so we didn't want to go that night, because usually Saturday nights are kind of chaotic anyway, and I had been peopled out. I was out of dopamine. To go to a restaurant is problematic for me. I don't like it. It doesn't make the experience enjoyable. So we decided we'll go on Sunday. Well, that place was closed on Sunday and Monday, and we were to fly out super early on Tuesday morning. But we were able to find a different German restaurant that we went to, and it was outstanding. We had spectacular schnitzel, really good spätzle. It was great. So basically what I'm trying to tell you on that, to find the best restaurants, sometimes it's straight by accident. But more often than not, you'll find the best restaurants by combining some different things. Look at the area that you're in. find the type of food that you want, search it by ratings if you want, but then check a different rating form. So if it has bad reviews on TripAdvisor, but it looks like it's your type of place or it would have good food, take a look at Yelp, take a look at Google, take a look at Reddit, and see what other people think about it. If you can find a place that you like or have a really good experience, throw a review down for them. It just takes a few minutes, but nothing goes further for a company than good reviews. We've created a society of people that get things when they complain, and that's terrible. Be the person that takes the 5 minutes to write a quick review on good service, good food, and good places. It helps everybody else. It helps the people that are coming after you. So if you're in Bradenton and you want to hit a good German restaurant, the Lucky Frog is supposed to be really good, but I didn't get to go there. But we ended up going to Edelweiss, and I would highly recommend it. It was fun, small atmosphere, busy while we were there, and the schnitzel is amazing. So the same thing goes for businesses. When we were looking for a place to go look for fossils, we pulled up lots of different places. And we narrowed it down to Paleo Discoveries because of the reviews they had and the way they did their tour. So what we did is that next morning, we woke up early. It's about an hour east of Sarasota if you're going to be in that area. So it's a bit of a drive, so it depends on you. But it starts at 9:30 and goes to 3:30. It actually might start at 9. So plan on 9 to 3:30. So we left our place about 7:30 in the morning, grabbed a bite to eat, and we went to go meet Fred Mazza and the other adventurers for our tour. Now, one of the things he recommends on his website is closed-toed shoes. I wore some boat shoes that I use when I kayak, and if I know I'm going to be getting in and out of the water quite a bit, which are nice because they drain, but they allow gravel and rocks in, and it was a bad choice. And I'll tell you why. What you're going to do on this adventure is you're going to meet in the morning. You're going to get set up with a canoe, a shovel, all the panning equipment or the sorting equipment that you're going to need for your fossils. Then you're going to paddle upriver for about a half an hour. It's not the easiest for everybody if you've never paddled a canoe before, but it's fun. We had a great time. We went a little bit slower than the rest of the group, and it's because we get easily distracted by things. There was a section that had a bunch of cattle that we're feeding across, and there were some white-tailed deer. There were some different wildlife areas. There were some cool trees. There was one tree that was leaning on another tree. The cypress knees coming out of the water. It's stuff that we don't get to see all the time. So we'd slow down and take a look and take some pictures and videos. And we were doing our best not to hold up the rest of the group. But at the same time, you need to enjoy yourself and have fun. We paddled upriver for about a half an hour, got to an island, and then traveled about another 5 to 10 minutes to another island. And we started digging. And it's pretty intensive as far as work goes. I mean, you're going to be shoveling sand and debris into a mesh screener and then sifting out all the sand and small bits so that you can look through and try and find the shark teeth. And I would say for most of it, we would find between 1 and 2 shark teeth per shovel scoop. The smaller shark teeth, a lot of people don't pick up, or the broken ones or things like that. So you'll find a fair number of those. But there's so many bones. There's pieces of ray. We found a bison tooth. We found a glyptodon scoot. We found alligator scoots. We found alligator teeth. We found a part of a mastodon tooth, the root of it. We found a broken piece of a tooth from a baby mastodon. We found the tail stingers from stingrays. We found lots of different shark teeth. We found big megalodon pieces. We found one complete megalodon tooth. It was a little bit smaller than those giant ones that you find, but we did find some giant pieces. We found pieces of dugong bones and dolphin bones and ray pieces and bones from all sorts of stuff. You could come home, if you picked up every fossil you found, you could come home with just piles of stuff. But we found some really, really neat pieces, some really good tiger shark teeth, bull shark teeth, snaggletooth teeth. We just found a ton of stuff, and it was a really, really enjoyable experience for us. Now, for whatever reason, Nancy and I took winter from Wyoming to Florida while we were there. It was very cold. I think I wore my winter jacket the entire time I was down there. Now, the day we were on the river, it was actually pleasant. It wasn't cold, but wasn't too hot. But I was working pretty hard. Nancy was sifting and I was shoveling for both her and me. And we dug a hole. So I was probably waist deep in the water by the end of the day. Started out about knee to thigh, and then I just kept digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper. But we found so many things, and it was one of the highlights of our trip. In hindsight, if you have wading shoes, like fly fishing wading boots, even go buy a cheap pair of wading boots. It would be beneficial. The other thing you could do that I think would be better than what we did is if you buy a cheap pair of tennis shoes, even just like a cheap Walmart pair, or go to the Goodwill or go someplace where you can get a cheap pair of shoes and get them too big, and buy a pair of neoprene wading socks. You're still going to get wet, but it's like a wetsuit, so your feet are going to stay a little bit warmer. But what that's going to do is it's going to keep the sand and gravel out of your shoes. And that was the hardest thing for me. I kept getting big chunks of gravel in my sandals. So then I'm standing on gravel, and it just got to the point where it was pretty painful. So by the end of the day, I'd taken off my sandals and I was just in the river barefoot, which I don't recommend because every so often you'd find a piece of glass or things like that. So I didn't cut my feet, but you could. So just be careful. But that little adventure we found was spectacular. Fred's really good about communicating what you need. His website's very well written, so you can go through and find out what you need. That's the only thing that I would suggest. Make sure you have really good shoes for what you're going to do. I think the key to that is neoprene socks. The neoprene sock is going to keep the gravel and stuff out, and then have laces so you can tie it down nice and tight. That more than anything else would help, I think. And it does say that on his website. It does say to not wear the types of shoes we wore. We just thought we knew what we were doing, and we didn't. So listen to the pros. It's always better. As far as the paddling part of it, the shoes that we picked were great. Getting in and out of the water, pulling the canoe across the shallow areas. If we would have had to portage, any of that kind of stuff, what we had was great. But standing in the river, digging in gravel, they weren't very good. So we had a lot of fun. We found a lot of fun things. We brought home pieces of turtle shell, some of the soft shell varieties, some other variety. It just so many things. I need to write everything down now just so that I remember what everything is while it's still fresh. So the next thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to go deep sea fishing. And we narrowed it down to a couple different companies based off of the reviews on the web. So we did a fair amount of research and found a company that had good reviews for what we wanted to do. We wanted just to go bottom fish, go reef fish, because we wanted to catch fish to bring home. I love cooking fish. I love eating fish, but I'm not a real big fan of freshwater fish. I love almost everything that comes out of the ocean. So we wanted to bring some fish home that wasn't what we normally get here. And On a Mission Fishing Charters, based out of the Tampa, Florida area, was hands down the company that we decided to go with. So the website is onamissionfishing.com. And I don't think I'm going to say his last name properly, but it's Captain Taylor Callison. And he's based out of kind of the Bradenton, Florida, Anna Maria Island area. We had a super fun time on his charter. Ironically enough, my sister and her husband happened to be flying into Orlando the day after Nancy and I flew down. So while we were out looking for fossil shark teeth, Tim and Ashley flew into Orlando and said, "Hey, it's too bad we aren't going to meet up. It'd be fun to go deep sea fishing." And I said, "Well, as it would happen, I already booked a boat. So if you and your husband want to drive out and grab a hotel in the Bradenton area, we can go fish," because we were scheduled to fish the day after they arrived. So that's what happened. They ended up coming down and meeting us. We got there early. Nancy and I got there super early because that's just what I do. But my little sister is notoriously late for everything, and she was actually almost 10 minutes early. So at the end of January of 2026, if you felt a little rotation in the earth shift, that was because Ashley was early. Thank goodness. So as it states in A River Runs Through It, there's 3 things you should never be late for: work, church, and fishing. Well, we ended up going out, having a great time. We caught so many fish. It was just an absolute ball. And the weather, again, was garbage, but that was probably the best day of the week that we were here. It was really cold, but we were able to get out on some good reefs that Captain Taylor took us to, and we were able to catch a lot of different grouper species. We were able to catch a whole bunch of different snapper species and 2 really nice hogfish. So we were able to come home with a bunch of delicious fish so we can have a really good couple of fish fries and we're super stoked. It was a great time. We saw dolphins on the way out and on the way back. Lots of bird activity, and Captain Taylor is just outstanding. His last name spelled Cowieson. I'll put a link to his webpage in the show notes. So definitely, if you're down in that area, Anna Maria Island, Bradenton, Florida area, go fish with him. Super fun, highly recommended. We had an absolute ball. Checked off a whole bunch of species of fish that I'd never caught before, which is one of my favorite things to do. And again, of all the different fishing charters that we looked up, this one was going to be closest to us, and he's booked pretty consistently. So if you want to get out and fish with him, make sure you coordinate as far in advance as you possibly can. Great guy, a lot of fun. We had a really good time. So now here's my main complaint for the state of Florida. They passed a law at the end of 2025 where if you want to get a 3-day or a 7-day saltwater fishing license, you can now only get them at very finite locations. Most fly shops were cut off. You can get them at a tax collector. That is not BS. I don't know of any other state that has a physical tax collector. You actually have to drive to a building called the tax collector. Now, they're only open Monday through Friday because it's a government agency, and heaven forbid they work normal hours. So you have to get there super early. You have to take a number. You have to sit in line. We did all this as we were told. This is on a Friday afternoon. The tax collector assistant guy took us over to a laptop and said, this is where you have to do the fishing licenses. I'm like, are you sure? Because it's not going to give us the option for 3-day or 7-day. Yep, I'm sure this is how you do it. So of course we log in. Of course it's the same thing that I have on my laptop or my cell phone. So I can't buy it on my phone, can't buy it on the laptop. And then the tax collector guy makes me do the exact same thing that I did at my house. So can't buy it there either, which we could have. He just didn't know. So that was a screw up on him. So we finally found a sporting goods store that sold them. We went and bought our 3-day fishing license because now we've missed out on 2 days of fishing because of this, because we couldn't get licenses. And being a guide, I can't afford to get a ticket. It's the last thing I need. So we finally got our licenses, and we went fishing from shore a couple times in some of the areas I like to fish. I like fishing around Sarasota, some of the little intercoastal areas. I have never been on the beach and been that cold in my life. It was stupid cold. It's warmer to ice fish in Wyoming than it was that day on the beach. But we still caught some black drum, some sheep's head, some croakers, a few other little fish. But it was just too cold for the fish too. A lot of them were looking for warmer waters. So Florida, get your act together. Don't make it complicated for people to buy a 3 or 7-day license. That's just foolishness. People want to give you their money, and you're going to make them go to a tax collector's office that's not even open on the weekend? Absolutely asinine. The dumbest system I think I've ever heard of. People want to give you money, and you're making it complicated for them to do so. Just dumb. Politicians getting involved in wildlife regulations. How about we let the biologists and the wildlife boards do that? So then Nancy and I decided to go to the Moat Marine and Aquarium. It's the new one that's gigantic, and it was fun. I would say because I get peopled out, if it wasn't as crowded as it was when we were there, it would have been a little bit more fun. But word to the wise, you need to get your tickets in advance. They have admissions every half an hour, and they sell out. At least they sold out when we were there. Maybe it was because it was so cold. People were looking for things to do inside. But that was fun. It's always fun to go to the Moat Marine Aquarium. So it's always something good to support. Ends up being about $35 a person. And we had walked through and done all the stuff we wanted to do in about an hour and a half. If you have little kids and you want to spend a lot more time there, do that. They have otters and manatees and different things that you can go see and learn about. And you can see all the fish that are in the local areas, and that's really cool. They do a lot of good for the environment. So support that kind of stuff for sure. Now, as you've probably heard from just listening to me, I like the little mom and pop places. I like finding the small restaurants. I like finding out of the way stores, unique things, and taking care of people that are local and trying to make ends meet in their environment. Try and avoid the big box retail stores, which again, Florida, why do you make me go to a big box retail store to get my fishing license? I went to 3 different mom and pop tackle bait stores and couldn't get a fishing license, but I had to go to a big box retail store to get it. You can't even get it at Walmart though. So just get your act together. Holy smokes. Don't make it complicated for people to follow the law. Just dumbness. But use all the things on the internet at your disposal to find those little hole-in-the-wall places. Find those places that are going to give you the service that you want. Don't just assume because someplace has a bad review that it's going to be a bad experience for you. You might like going to a bar that's super crowded and packed because of the environment, because of all the people. I like going to restaurants where they're not super crowded. I'll eat at off times just because of that. Or I'll take it to go. I like taking food to go. I like being in the comfort of my Airbnb or my home or my motel to eat. But some people like the ambiance of the restaurants. And that's great. But do your research. Find the places that aren't just cliché. Find the places that are going to leave a lasting impression on you and on those around you. Find the little adventures of things that you didn't even know existed. How many people have been to Disney in Florida and didn't even know you could go find fossil shark teeth? Go do it. It's so much fun. It was such a great day. But fishing with Captain Taylor and fossil hunting with Paleo Discoveries was completely the highlight of our trip. We're able to find some great shelling while we were there too, because there were some big storms. And I think the cold weather kept a lot of people off the beaches. So that was also fun, but man, we had a great time. So get out there and live your stories.